The Secret of the Indian by Lynne Reid. Epilogue. At a wedding. It was a marvelous, unforgettable occasion. They all came. Matron, they had to send her back briefly when they'd explained why they'd brought her to change out of her uniform. Not remotely suitable. She reappeared in a smart navy blue suit, a snow-white blouse with lots of unexpected frills down the front, and a funny little hat like a crooked flower pot with a dotted veil. She was even wearing a trace of lipstick. Fliggets emerged with his sergeant's stripes, which his newly confident manner after the Battle of the Skinheads had earned him almost as soon as he returned to his company. When he understood the occasion, he wanted to go back to recruit a Royal Marine Guard of Honor, but he was dissuaded by Boone, who modestly said he wanted things quiet with just my best friends present. And of course, his best friends had to include his blood brother, Little Bear, and his family. Little Bear arrived in full regalia, his headdress, his cloak, and all his finery. He had had them on for a celebration of a victory, not a final one, no doubt, but still a victory. In the 2 weeks since he had been back in his village, a great deal had happened, which he related to them during the wedding eve feast. The Algonquins, having regrouped after the previous battle, which Omri had witnessed, had mounted yet another attack, and been repulsed. "How did you do it, Little Bear? You lost so many men last time." "Wise chief learn not only from victory, defeat also teach," said Little Bear, virtuously but vaguely. "It's strange that when you had the now guns, you couldn't beat them, but without them you could." "Best use Indian weapons, as Omri say." Little Bear's tone was now definitely evasive. Omri was not inclined to press him, but Boone unexpectedly was. "Using only bows and arrows, you beat 'em hollow, eh, Redskin?" he asked. Little Bear inclined his head. "Oh, yeah? So you never even used my six-shooter that you stole off me, huh?" Little Bear's head snapped up, his eyes narrowed to menacing slits. "Little Bear not steal white brother weapon." "Well, you did, 'cause I had my eyes open a mite, and I seen you do it. One of them times you come to look me over when I was laid there helpless," he went on, while Little Bear became more and more uncomfortable. "Little Bear!" exclaimed Omri, shocked. "You didn't! Not steal!" shouted Little Bear. "Take, but not steal. Here, I give weapon back." He pulled the revolver out from under his cloak and thrust it into Boone's hand. "Real good of you. Seeing you ain't got no more use for it now, it's plumb empty. Where are all the bullets, Injun brother?" Little Bear's earlier discomfiture had evaporated. Now he drew himself up proudly. "One bullet, one enemy," he boasted. "What? You down 6 of 'em?" Boone held up one hand and a thumb. "That's right good shooting for a beginner." He tucked his gun away in its holster. "Well, guess I'll have to reckon I lent it in a good cause. And you'll have to reckon on going back to the old ways next time." Little Bear scowled. Hard to go back old ways after new ways," he muttered. Bright Stars, with Tall Bear strapped on her back, was also wearing a beautiful dress, covered with elaborate decorations. She rivaled the bride until Ruby Lou thought of a way to dress up even more. She persuaded Emma to go and buy a model wedding set that included a plastic bride. Emma was not too happy about this. "But what are you going to do when I bring her to life? Just rip the dress off her and leave her there in her undies?" "No, of course not. I'm going to buy it off her." "Buy it with what?" "This." And she pulled out a minute leather pouch with a drawstring and clinked it against her palm. Emma's eyes popped. "It's not gold, is it?" "Sure is." She tipped the bag a little, and something winked in her tiny hand. "I reckon a few gold dollars ought to pay for a wedding dress. Just hope I like it when I see it made real." So it was done. Ruby went into the cupboard after the bride had been brought to life and emerged triumphant with the dress, a gorgeous thing of white silk and 1,000 tiny lace ruffles over her arms. "Don't tell me she was at the altar when we brought her," said Emma. "Naw, she was just trying on. She told me she didn't like the darn thing much anyhow. Made her look fat." "Can't all have a figure like yours, Ruby," said Boone proudly. The preacher was none other than Tickle. Bringing him was no easy task. There were several false trips. They first brought to life the parson from Emma's wedding models. But of course he wasn't Tickle, he was just a parson, a pallid youth who took one look out through the cupboard door, offered up an anguished prayer, and fainted dead away. So in the end they went to the model shop with Ruby and looked at every plastic figure in the place, till they found a western saloon scene with a little man at a piano, and Ruby said, "That's him," and it was. So they got the piano too. Tickle was terrified at first. He insisted the whole thing was devil's work and refused to believe it could be happening. But Ruby and Boone took him aside and persuaded him that it was all part of the great design, and what really would be sinful was if he left Ruby and Boone unhitched. After a few pulls from a hip pocket flask he happened to have on him, he allowed himself to be drawn to his piano, and after practicing a few hymns which he hadn't played since the Deadeye Gang had burned down his church, he gradually worked himself into a devout mood and agreed to play his part. He ain't